welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our guest this morning is Dr. Thomas Palucki. Welcome, how are you?
Awesome. It's great to
Good.
be here. Thanks.
Awesome.
Good to be back.
Isn't that a terrific
Nice spring
word?
day.
Yes. it's
Terrific
beautiful.
word. Awesome. Does anyone really know what it means?
It's actually not a very pleasant word. Awesome.
I know.
means in awe of, as in a very bad way, but we use it like in a good way.
Yes,
like
I
it's
know.
awesome, but to be awesome is to kind of be terrified of something.
In awe.
Yeah.
In awe.
In awe.
But I'm in awe, but I'm not afraid.
There you go.
I'm okay with that.
That's-
Awesome town, Santa Clarita.
Oh!
That
I'm
mean
not even
bad or
going there.
good?
That's good.
Well, sir, what is our subject for the day? You have all kinds of things written down there.
You know, I try to stay topical, and I just saw online that a new study out, 25 of the top leading causes of cancer. Cancer is the number 2 killer, only beaten by heart disease at this point in this country.
Whoa.
So the reality is most people are going to have some form of cancer. Some cancers are less serious, if there can be such a thing as less serious cancer, than others. And you're a cancer survivor.
Absolutely.
So we can start there if you'd like.
Okay.
But there's a lot of information I'd like to cover today about maybe stacking the odds, because the odds are not in your favor. The odds are actually pretty good that you are going to get some form of cancer. It's just a matter of time. In fact, the prostate cancer is a guarantee for every male if they live long enough. But
Now, to me, that's awesome.
yeah, awesome. Okay.
That's a little scary.
Yeah, it's going to happen, but there's things you can do. It's not nearly 100 years ago, people were starting to talk about what we now call epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
Which means everything that you can do to avoid the hand you're dealt by your grandparents, essentially your genetic predisposition to get sick or to have something horrible happen in your life. Yes, sure, there is a genetic factor involved, but number one, right now, there's no technology that can change that, and number two, I think that's probably okay. But number three is that for a really long time now, and this isn't something new, this is just starting to get some traction, is that the genes are really just switches, and it's largely dependent on your lifestyle of whether those switches are going to be turned on or not.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not new information. Like I said, they didn't have the words, they didn't have the descriptions that we have now, because now it's this whole science, but they were talking about these things over 100 years ago. So the interesting thing is that cancer, first of all, is still probably the most scary diagnosis that anybody is ever going to hear from their their doctor.
The
you
big
go in,
C.
yeah. There are some improvements in some of the treatments out there right now, but I think the key is this is one area where prevention is key. And I know prevention is a hard sell. It's a real hard sell for most people. They just don't want to know. They got their lives, they've got their stresses, they've got things they got to deal with. So the idea of something in the future isn't real to most people. So, but here's one critical thing that I'd like to impress. of all the years of knowing how bad cigarette smoking is, like they knew 50 years ago, and it was proven that they knew, and that's why they got hit with the big lawsuit. But the outcome of that was that they had to do this truth campaign. You've seen the ads,
Yeah.
all those like hip and trendy commercials about showing in a very friendly, hip, and modern way how bad smoking is instead of the old scare tactics. So the whole truth campaign, interesting phenomena, because we have seen the biggest drop in lung cancer as opposed to any other methodology out there since that truth campaign started. It is the number one reason for avoiding a major form of cancer. And it was just a public education program. It's not a treatment. It's just letting people know that, hey, this stuff is going to give you cancer and don't do it. And so I think that will save a whole lot of expense if we just adopt that kind of, I don't know, a new approach and making things important before they're a life or death situation.
Or with the big thing with cigarette smoking also is that the ads, TV ads especially, were eliminated. You don't see TV ads anymore for smoking.
No.
And that
cigarettes.
was big time.
I got you.
And
I
that
understand,
and
but
advertisement in the newspapers, on
But
billboards.
even without-
a lot of that, that's a different.
It's a bygone
different
era.
It's a campaign that was just, we take it off so that people aren't exposed. And I think several people on our show have talked about now we see pharmacologics being promoted.
No, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's
And
same
so
thing.
we have to work toward that as well.
Thanks for bringing that up. I don't think taking the smoking ads off TV really stopped it because the sales just went through the roof anyway, and more people died of lung cancer anyway. They just took, instead of taking it off the ads, there was product placement. So if there was a dramatic scene, someone would be smoking during that scene. That wasn't by accident. That was there on purpose. So that's one thing. The interesting thing is I just saw that the FDA just gave the green light to taking those warnings out of all of the pharmaceutical commercials.
Taking the warnings out?
Yeah. So those commercials that you're just like, oh my God, when you hear all the things that this drug is going to do to you, that no longer has to be in the commercials, and they're going to start phasing that in over the next couple of years. So you're just going to see.
Why?
Well, they got a big fat check is why. That's the bottom line.
That's it.
So yeah, it's a little scary, and there's no accountability for what's going on.
Well, my methotrexate was not advertised. It was advertised, but there were no side effects mentioned.
Really?
That's right. And also, I think Enbrel, that was the same way, but up until a few years ago, well, they started putting that on.
Yeah.
Possible
they're-
side effects, lymphoma,
Well,
along with other side effects.
Sure.
Now,
It's
you
not
mean
like
they're
the
gonna
manufacturers don't already know. They already know. They pick and choose the research that they even send to the FDA. So they leave out all the bad stuff to begin with. So they know, and it's just really a matter of how much money can they make before they get sued.
Well, I think had I known that methotrexate, that was a side effect, possible side effect, when I took it, because I took it for 6 years,
Right.
1 shot a day.
Yeah.
And if I had known that, I wouldn't have taken the stuff.
Right.
Was it 1 shot a day?
I'm sorry, 1 shot a week. I'm
Okay.
sorry, one
Yeah,
shot a week.
I was going to say, then you're
Yeah.
overdosed.
Yeah.
1 shot a week for 6 years.
Yeah.
And I never missed a week.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got cancer.
and
And
I
you
got
got
cancer.
cancer.
And I'm positive that that was the possible side effect, and I got it.
Yeah, well, it really shouldn't be your job to know all the bad stuff that's going to happen when you follow your doctor's recommendations. It's really their job.
That's
And it
true.
is their job to inform you that there's, not just a slight risk, but there's a good chance that by following my recommendations, you're going to get cancer. And that I think that is just wrong on so many levels. You're trusting that doctor. The reason that you're there in the first place is you're trusting that doctor to have your best interests at
Yeah,
heart.
well, I
And-
wanted my arthritis
right.
to stop pain because
But would
my
you
hand-
trade arthritis for cancer any day of the week?
Oh yes,
You would.
absolutely.
You'd rather have cancer than arthritis.
No, I'd rather have arthritis
Okay.
than cancer. Because that was a miserable time I went through and a very painful time. And I don't wish that on anyone.
I know.
Absolutely no one.
I know. Well, I don't want to get too heavy into it because we can find that in just about every recommendation that you're going to get that's pharmaceutically based. You're going to find some kind of devastating side effect that is not just a very slight risk, but the interesting thing is you see these ads, and even if they do take out those ridiculous warnings at the end, you see these ads. They run a year to maybe 2 years where they're just, the next miracle in modern science. And then you see a different kind of ad start popping up, and it's for the lawyers with the class action suits about that same procedure or medication or whatever. So, and the scariest part of the whole thing is, unlike you who didn't know that methotrexate causes cancer, the manufacturers knew all along.
Interesting.
And whether they told the doctor or not, whether they told the FDA or not, the fact that this is just common practice is very wrong.
Hmm.
It's not okay.
But it's not going to change.
It's
either.
not going
This
to
is-
change.
This is the control that money has over what doctors see and what the patients then see.
So, all that aside, there are some things that I'd like to talk about if we have enough time that are lifestyle things that anybody can do to try to reduce the risk. And some of them are going to be a little controversial, but some of them are so straightforward that it just doesn't make sense not to do it. So, number one on the list, this is going to be a shocker for a lot of people, is sugar. I am not an advocate of artificial sweeteners. I want to let you know right now that is not what I'm saying. They're worse. Much worse. Every single one of them, regardless of what the current advertising is saying, every single one of them is much worse than the real thing. However, sugar is food for cancer. The way it's metabolized, the way that it's used on a cellular level, the amount of sugar that we consume in this country is a leading cause of cancer. And that's pretty messed up.
Well, yeah, it is, especially when you think of fruit is full of sugar.
Yeah, okay, so here's...
Even though they say fruit is good for you.
Yeah, so
You're talking
that's a
about
real good point.
Added sugar.
All sugar. Sugar is
Okay.
sugar. There's only one metabolic pathway for any form of sugar, regardless of whether they say it's a fast or a simple or a complex carbohydrate. Like, oh, you need more complex carbohydrates. Stay away from the simple carbohydrates, but you need more. There's only one metabolic pathway, and it winds up in anything in excess. It winds up in causing some real challenges to your detoxification systems, to your immune systems, to your health in the long run. So the basic premise here is that sugar is easy. Sugar is hardwired into our systems to give us satisfaction. So it's an easy sell. It's still relatively cheap, especially with the advent of GMOs and being able to mass produce this stuff out of things that normally wouldn't produce that much sugar. And I don't even want to get into that so much, but loading up on sugar, I forget. I used to know these because this used to be a bigger part of my whole presentation. But I think in the time of our founding fathers, they had about 18 pounds of sugar per year. 18 pounds of sugar per year. And that sounds like a lot, but it's really not much. Now, the average American has over 100 pounds of sugar per year. Like the body weight, my wife is about 100 pounds. So they consume the weight of a human being in sugar every year, and it's in everything. Even with all the artificial sweeteners and stuff, there's still way too much sugar in food, especially processed, because that is a whole other category. Processed foods, and these are things that people don't have to have, and it's not that difficult. It's not like you're depriving yourself. Oh, what, you're gonna be a Quaker, or you're gonna be Amish or whatever, and not have any fun in your life. Or now halal is the big thing. No, you just be realistic and don't pour sugar on fruit. I'm not kidding. People actually like watermelon. They'll douse with sugar.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it's so we've developed a sickening sweet tooth in this country, and a lot of people think they're doing a better job by using artificial sweeteners, and that is not okay. Every single one of them is worse than the real thing. Not just as far as the potential of causing cancer, but it doesn't help you lose weight either. Like diet sodas, any of that does not. There is no good science behind any of it. In fact, it doesn't help at all. So the key isn't just, okay, well, I'm not going to have real sugar. I'm going to have this chemical concoction that tricks my brain into thinking that I'm having sugar instead. The key is change your tastes and not necessarily go for the sweet stuff to begin with. And it's not easy, because the processed food industry is all designed about giving you not only that feeling of instant gratification, but an addiction. They make their money by addicting you to their product.
Well, now, where does diabetes come in here? Is sugar the cause of some diabetes? Or all diabetes? Because I've always been told you have to avoid sugar if to
avoid diabetes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so diabetes is your pancreas secretes insulin, and that's in response to the body being able to know how much sugar you have in the bloodstream. So the pancreas secretes insulin, and insulin helps the sugar in the bloodstream get into the cells. The cells need glucose in order to do its manufacturing job in the liver, in the brain, wherever it is. When the cells, which are beta cells in the pancreas, don't produce enough insulin, the sugar in the bloodstream remains high, and then you start getting symptoms related to what diabetes is. Polyuria, polydipsia, which means drinking a lot of fluid, urinating a lot, and you are more predisposed to having kidney problems, heart problems, strokes, peripheral neuropathy, things like that. So they're related in the sense that sugar, too much sugar, can burn out the beta cells in the pancreas.
Interesting.
A short explanation in our physiology of the day.
Yeah, it looks like we need to take a little break, doesn't it? Let's do that. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
La Esmeralda is home to truly authentic Mexican food. This family-owned restaurant prides itself on its fresh-to-order menu. Even the tortillas are made in-house. If you have a taste for sizzling fajitas, flautas, or menudo, you have to try La Esmeralda's Mexican and Seafood Restaurant. Dine in or order out for the most authentic Mexican food Santa Clarita has to offer. Their Taco Tuesday, it'll turn you into a regular. La Esmeralda on Bouquet at Haskell.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
This weekend, it's fun for your entire family at the KHTS Home and Garden Show and Crafts Fair at Central Park. Admission is free, featuring 500 of Santa Clarita's leading vendors. It's fun for the kids with a petting zoo, pony rides, and pig races. Go on a tasting tour at our parade of award-winning food trucks. On Saturday, join the excitement at the Emergency Expo and Arbor Day celebration, where you can catch the fire department demolish a car. This Saturday and Sunday at Central Park. Full details at SantaClaritaHomeshow.com.
It isn't often when we see a company launch in Santa Clarita and become an international sensation. In 2010, Jen Gerard founded Whitening Lightning in her Valencia kitchen. Now it's a booming international sensation. Leading actresses and international models have switched to Whitening Lightning to avoid the mess, hassle, and sensitivity of other products. Whitening Lightning's simple Dial-A-Smile kit will dramatically turn your teeth whiter in just 20 minutes. Rediscover how white your teeth can look. Visit whiteninglightning.com. whiteninglightning.com.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM, 98.1 FM, and AM 1220, your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Thomas Pilecki, and we've been discussing sugar and how bad it is for you.
And how it might even be related to cancer.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of the main avoidable things you can do. Thank goodness most people aren't still smoking, especially here in Southern California.
Oh, yes.
But things that we don't necessarily consider high-risk behaviors are nearly as bad. And things like processed foods, cured meat, which means any kind of lunch meat, all the conveniences that we depend on at this point for convenience, whether it's wrapped in plastic and it's a microwavable plastic bag, whether it's the canned foods are lined with either BPA or some relative of BPA. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there was this big thing about BPA about 10 years ago, and you saw all the non-BPA products. That's just one type of plastic. That's just one type of chemical in plastic that they measured. Any form of petroleum has dozens, if not hundreds, of cancer-causing substances in it. And just taking BPA out of the equation, because there was some research done on it, there are over 80,000 chemicals that we're exposed to on a daily basis, and only about 2,000 have had the kind of research that BPA has had. So it's just, you know, I'm not the, oh, everybody's going to die of cancer guy. I'm like, okay, here's what you do in order to minimize your exposure, in order to minimize your risk, in order to increase your possibility of dodging a bullet, literally, with this cancer thing, because we're exposed to so much.
Well, you know, talking about plastic, I've noticed now when I go grocery shopping into the fruits and vegetable area, they have potatoes that are wrapped in plastic that you can put right into the microwave. And
yeah, not a good idea.
And
it's
I'm
bad
thinking,
enough. Plastic
what?
is bad enough. Like, if you have to buy bottled water in plastic for whatever reason, that's bad enough. But when you heat plastic and expose it to the universal solvent, which is water, or something worse, something acidic, or you line cans with plastic and you heat them, or you cook in them, even worse. All those, when I was younger, and I'm sure you remember, the TV dinners came in aluminum. Bad enough, but it was at least a metal.
Now they come in plastic.
Now they come in plastic.
And covered
all
with plastic.
all of the convenience meals are designed to be cooked in
I'm glad
plastic.
I don't eat them.
Yeah, it's so. I understand that you want convenience in your life, but taking a few extra steps. Sure, if you need to buy the plastic wrapped food, but at least don't cook in plastic. Yeah. Put it in a glass dish. Or the old Corningware, or in a stainless steel pot, or something like that. So you minimize the risk.
Or cook your own food. And
well, that's asking a lot of people.
Well, what you do is you make like 3 or 4 meals, and you divide it up, and you put it in the glass, freeze it, or whatever you want to do, and then come back to it later, because people don't have time. They don't have time to go shopping at the farmer's market or a good store. They just rush in and rush out. Easy to put a TV dinner in. 6 minutes, you're done.
I agree with you 1,000%, but I know that people aren't going to do this. I just know.
Well, we do. We make a meal and we divide it up into portions, and we come home and
an exception.
Well, let's get people to start thinking about doing it for their own health. For the cancer, the big C.
Because you weigh the risk and the value of convenience versus cancer. Right now, here's the reason that I haven't really promoted this so much, is because right now it's convenient. Cancer is a maybe down the line for most people.
That's
maybe it maybe doesn't exist for anybody. The future doesn't exist for anybody. They know about what's right now. And right now it's more convenient to have that Diet Coke in that plastic bottle than it is to have a glass of purified water. So how do you take that factor out of it is what I've been focusing on for the past several years. How do you get it so that people don't have to think? People don't have to make these kind of decisions. People can get what they want. And even that is asking a lot, just to do things a little bit differently. And that is easy enough to change the way that your body reacts to sugars and processed foods. Is you start having more protein, more vegetables. There's a trend, I don't know if it's petering out or not, but the paleo or caveman, or now it's keto or whatever, these diet trends come and go. But there's a shred of real science behind every single one of them. And the bottom line is, the less you're exposed to highly processed stuff, the more likely you're going to have less consequences in the long run. So,
and it doesn't just apply to cancer. It applies to lots of things.
Exactly. It's a lot easier these days to do this than ever before because of these trendy diets that have come down the pike. Now you can get small self-serving packets of vegetables, organic vegetables. You didn't used to be able to do that. You had to to
grow it yourself.
Do a lot of work to get that. And this, so it's not that difficult to still have some convenience and still do it right. It's just always going to be easier to do it wrong. And that's what all the media is going to promote, because they know it's not their job to educate. It's their job to sell product. Yes. And if you give someone something that makes them feel like immediately satisfied and possibly even addicted to that feeling, and it's wrapped up in a nice little disposable container, that you don't have to do any work in order to get, that's a no-brainer sell. To educate the population that you really need to cut and clean your own raw vegetables and, only deal with organic meat sources, it's a hard sell. It's a very hard sell.
Well, the grocery stores now have sections of organic food.
Many of them.
I would say practically all of them do, I would think.
Yeah, and
I'm
it's
glad they
great.
do, because
Me
I
too.
buy organic vegetables.
That's good.
And and they seem to have vetted those sections as well. In the beginning, I started to see
You question it.
that. Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
I know how Whole Foods does it, and I thought, and that's to me a valued way of vetting where you're getting your food from. And I wanted to make sure that the Vons and Ralphs and Albertsons, they were doing the same thing, and indeed, they got on board with doing that and have made sure that their sources are equivalent to the good stores now, and it's profitable for them.
Absolutely.
So the money came in and said, hey, make it available, and now we as seniors can go to these stores and make better selections.
Right.
That's right.
I just found out something interesting this weekend. It costs a farmer 8 times as much to produce organic beef, pork, or lamb than conventional. But it costs a farmer 200 times more to produce organic chicken.
Really? Why is that?
Is that rules and regulations? or-
It's just because you really don't want to know what goes into commercial chicken. People think that they're eating healthy because they're having more chicken and fish than they are beef or pork. It's about the furthest thing from the truth. Commercial chicken is just straight up poison. I mean, it is loaded with. It is the number one reason why doctors are having such problems with resistant forms of bacteria. 80% of all antibiotics go into the raising of chickens. But not just because they live in such squalor that they're, prone towards disease. The real answer is that you load these poor animals up with antibiotics and they swell up like a house. It's an inflammatory process, and that the bird is sold by weight. It's all done by weight, and when you load these animals up on antibiotics, they swell up 8 times what they normally are. If you just look at 30, 40 years ago, what a roaster, a roaster hen, what you would buy in a store, the size of that animal compared to what they are now, they're 4 to 6 times the size of it. I mean, a whole roaster was about the size of a chicken breast today, and it's all artificial. It's all done with antibiotics and hormones and all kinds of weird stuff in the feed to produce more, essentially, inflammation in the bird so they can sell it for more. It's a bad situation. So, again, I hate to be the doom and gloom kind of guy. What do you do instead? And I'm not here saying, all right, everybody needs to buy organic. Most people can't afford it, especially on a fixed income. When you're retired and you're relying on that Social Security check and maybe whatever pension, if you were even lucky enough to have any of that, you can't be thinking in terms of, oh, well, I'm just going to have this type of food that costs 8 times as much as anything else.
Do you think
But
the costs will come down, though?
No, I
as
don't.
More
Not
and
at
more
all.
people,
No,
we
it's not.
take the antibiotics out? Or,
No, it's not going to come down.
and most of the outlets that are chicken outlets who sell fried chicken and things like that,
Oh, they're all the
using,
horrible. They're the
yeah,
worst.
they're using
Yeah.
these chickens,
Of
these
course,
antibiotic
because it's
chickens.
a fraction of the price of the real thing.
Well, it's per pound, so they're bigger, so they're per pound they're getting more money.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
So what's the answer? The answer is more vegetables. It's not that difficult. I mean, if you wanted to, you could grow. I do grow your vegetables that you consume right on your kitchen counter. It's really. I mean, it has come so far in my lifetime. We used to always have the side of the house because we lived in New Jersey. We had a 3-month growing system season. The side of the house was a farm. You don't really see that so much. It's starting to trend back, but you don't even have to do that anymore. You can grow it on your kitchen countertop. You can have organic produce, and it's therapeutic. It's not that hard to do, and you actually have a high degree of satisfaction of growing your own food that you don't get anywhere else. Food always tastes better when you grow it yourself, unless you just got a brown thumb. But go on YouTube. I know that might be a challenge for some people, but you can find out how to do this stuff so easy, and it's not. It's a fraction of the price of buying the convenience at the grocery store, which has been exposed to God only knows what.
And there's pride in that too.
Yeah.
But the only thing is, around Santa Clarita, you do not see any gardens in the front yard. It's all manicured and everything else.
Right.
And I don't know if there's a law against having a garden in your
Depends
front
on your
yard.
HOA.
Yeah, if you don't have an HOA, we don't have an HOA. So, I wonder if, we would have a problem putting a little patch of garden there instead of in our backyard.
Right. Some people don't want to be bothered with that. That is quite a bit of work.
But our
I won't do it.
seniors
My
have
wife
time.
won't. Yeah, my
Our
wife
seniors
won't
have
allow
time,
it.
and
In the front yard, it's not allowed with our HOA. In the backyard, I've talked about it in the past, and she doesn't want that. She wants that manicured look. So I get that. That's okay. It's not judgment. But she has given me, about 4 square feet of the kitchen countertop, and I grow. You can certainly do microgreens, which a lot of people don't know about, but you only let them grow to about 1 inch tall of just about anything, and it's probably the most nutritious vegetable you're ever going to have when it's that big. Or you don't even have to let it grow at all and just sprout them. That is the most nutritious, because once the seed germinates, it has all the potential nutrition in the most compact side that plant is ever going to have. But it has to sprout first. You can't just get that nutrition from the seed, because there's all kinds of protective coatings in the seeds so that it has the chance to germinate. But once it sprouts, all the nutrition that you could ever get out of that plant, even if it grew to be 10 feet tall, is in that 1 inch sprout.
Wow, that's interesting.
So you have the most concentrated nutrition of any food source on the planet by sprouting. And it doesn't take any space at all to do this. The size of a bread box, you could sprout enough food. If you're really into this, you could sprout enough food as far as vegetables are concerned. You're going to need a protein source. But as far as vegetables are concerned, the size of a bread box could serve all your needs.
this weekend, KHTS is sponsoring the Home and Garden Show at Central
Yeah.
Park, and I wonder with that if there will be some of that education going on
I hope
to be
so.
able to tell us how to grow it, where to grow it, and
It's
time
a
of year
great
to grow
idea.
it. And
I may
you
have
know,
I can't do it this week, but I may have a booth in the future just about this, because I haven't seen it so much here.
Yeah.
I know you can buy or rent or even get for free little lots in the park where you can grow some
right,
stuff.
even at Central Park.
Yeah, at Central Park. But I haven't really seen anybody come out and show people how to do microgreens or sprouting. So that might be a thing.
To do. Think about it.
Yep.
And
I don't
plus-
have a business. That's just it. I don't have a business to promote this. It would be purely educational, and we might talk
But that's
about.
what Home and Garden is.
Yeah.
It's education. So we have to see whether this station is advocating that or not at this Home and Garden. And if it doesn't, if it's not doing that, we should ask the Goldmans to maybe do something like that in the future. And think about, I think there's an emergency expo with it. If you have a garden and it's growing and there's an earthquake, you can't go down to the grocery store sometimes.
Yeah.
There it
Your
is.
own
There's
garden.
there's your food for through earthquakes, get
Yeah.
you through the time.
Yep.
So
Oh, I know we got to go, but one quick thing. I just found out you can have chickens in Santa Clarita, in city limits. You can have chickens.
Huh.
You probably
In your
don't
backyard?
want a rooster because then you'll get complaints from the neighbors, but you can have,
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
because I saw them at True Value, the baby chicks. I was like,
True Value. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was, you could, this isn't legal. And he says, oh, yeah. In city limits, yeah, you can have chickens.
So I can give them antibiotics too.
Yeah, you don't want that. But you can certainly have a couple of hens producing eggs, which is probably the perfect food. It's got
There you go.
the best protein. The highest concentration of protein in your body is albumin, and that's what egg whites are. It's the most ideal bioidentical protein you can have, and the yolk is the best form of cholesterol and saturated fats that you can have. That's a whole nother conversation. Cholesterol drugs are top of my list of things to avoid on this list.
Absolutely. Well, that's interesting because the one thing that I hated most about growing up was having to clean out the hen house. Because we had
That's why my wife wouldn't let me
kitchens.
get them. She was like, yeah, like you need another project. Because I was just
That's
in
the
love. As soon
worst.
as I saw them, I was like, I want them all.
That's one of the worst things that you have to do is
Yeah.
clean out a hen house.
That is nasty.
Oh, and that was my job. My mother said, "No, your baby brother's too small to do that.
You've got to figure out
have
an
to do it."
automated process that some kind of
Oh,
robot
it
cleans the
was
chicken
terrible.
house for you.
It was absolutely terrible. I hated it.
Yep.
But I loved growing the food in the garden. We had lettuce and spinach
It's coming back
and
to that.
radishes
We
and
will
onions.
see the Victory Gardens
Oh.
again.
I used to love that because I used to love to dig the dirt and throw a little bit of it at my brother. He'd run in crying, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy! Look what Barbara did. No, look what Babs did." I didn't do anything, Mum. And he was covered in dirt. Of course, he did the same thing to me, too. So, but that was fun. It really was. I don't know whether at my age now it would be fun.
Right.
Having to bend over and get back up and bend over and get back up.
Yeah, I'm intrigued because I believe this is the answer. If not microgreens, certainly sprouting, small patches of Victory Gardens, because we have a much more extensive growing season here than anywhere I've ever
absolutely.
lived.
Absolutely.
And maybe get a couple of hens. If it's not, you probably had what, 8
Yes.
to 10.
We had
That's
8
a mess.
of them. We had
Yeah.
8 of them and 1 rooster.
That's a mess, but a couple of good egg layers, as long as you protect them from the critters, because everybody likes chicken, and there are some crafty critters out there.
Oh, yes,
so
there
as
are.
long as you give them some protection, I think we're onto something.
Yes. Especially those critters that roll up and down the street at all times of day looking for something. And it's time to take a break, isn't it? My goodness, where does the time go? It disappears. Anyway, I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Daily Imprints is the premier one-stop shop for custom embroidery, screen printing, and promotional products in the Santa Clarita Valley. Owners Joe and Dana have provided KHTS with quality embroidered company shirts for over 3 years. If it's new business cards or promotional products you need to enhance your image, Daily Imprints is the choice for you. Located on Lyons Avenue, stop by or call today, 661-678-0508.
Your building sign is essential in getting customers to your location. Feathers can help get your business noticed. They walk you through each phase of your building sign project, providing special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will give you a sign you can be proud of. Your building sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Feathers on Soledad in Canyon Country, across from the Edwards Theater. Or go to feathersphoto.com. That's feathersphoto.com.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Now FM, 98.1 FM, and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Good morning and welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Thomas Palucki, and we finished talking about chickens, didn't we? Or in the middle of it.
It's
getting,
crazy.
Getting hens, laying eggs, being henpecked, all that.
Yeah, we never know where this show is going. There's always so much that you're not going to hear on pretty much any other show or see on TV or certainly see in any of the commercials. And I just love the opportunity to get in and share this information with your listeners.
Well, that's an extensive list. How far down it did we
We
get?
got to number 2.
Number 2.
I said at the beginning of the segment that there's 25
Yes.
things that I wanted to cover. We got to number 2, so
Good heavens. Well, we've got lots more time in the future to cover them,
awesome.
even if it means all the way through December.
And you know,
Maybe we'll cover it by then.
maybe. But you brought up in the very beginning, you know, cancer, we hope will one day be solved, and, you know, there's genetic components to it. But at least for right now, the main way we have of defeating it, yes, it might be through our diet like we talked about, but preventiveness is huge. And, you know, the success rates with many of the cancers have improved lifespans and the quality of life for many of our seniors. But it's now because we say, get your colonoscopy, get your mammogram, you know, get your blood test done. And, you know, this has made huge changes in us, our ability to lead us down a path that might show that someone has cancer. And then we can initiate treatment, like with Barb. You know, Barb had a symptom, and she realized after a week that that symptom was not normal, sought help through her private physician, Dr. Felix Barté, and he right away said something is wrong here, more than just GERD or an ulcer, anything like that, and he ordered a CAT scan, and immediately something was abnormal. And, you know, within, you know, a few weeks of having her initial symptoms, she was diagnosed and being treated. And, you know, that speed and agility to get there is now based upon our awareness and knowledge of wanting to do something quickly and immediately to assure that patients do okay. So for our listeners out there, we want them to know, you know, heed the warning signs, heed what your body is saying, listen to the symptoms
your
of
body.
the day, and
Listen
make
to
sure
your body.
you understand.
Absolutely.
And talking, having a good relationship with your private physician is really important, and don't ignore it. Guys, senior guys out there, you know, there are things going on that with your bodies right now. Some of you listening, don't ignore it. Heed the warnings. We have to do that, and I think that was your first message. preventiveness.
Yeah.
So let's continue with that, and we hope that our seniors. It's a lot of things you said today were exactly things that you will not hear on any other show. Not on any other show, and this is where you hear it, and it's timely for our seniors here in this valley to know that resources are here for them, and this information is being put out there by KHTS.
Yeah, it's a great show. Always happy to come in and share as much information as we can squeeze into our little hour session. We never get through
That's true.
our list, but
At least we started it.
yeah, the easiest thing as far as healthcare is concerned is don't get sick in the first place.
Yeah, do everything you can to be healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah, heed the warnings.
That's not sexy. It's not what's promoted, but that is the real answer.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to a few really simple things.
If our listeners want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Phone number is 661-753-9340. And for this group, for this audience, we do accept Medicare, which is a big issue for a lot of people.
Oh, I know. It's a big issue.
Yeah. So, we've gone over a lot of issues, especially related to cancer, but getting good medical care and preventive care, it's important that people understand that's what Dr. Pilecki is all about. His phone number, once again, is 753-9340. Dr. Thomas Pilecki, thank you for being on the show. Yes. We are sponsored by Advanced Audiology and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.